Good day, folks. It's great to be back again and seeing you here. Okay, I did produce a video, or rather, I did record a video of me outside running, but I didn't operate the selfie correctly. So um, I have deleted that video and now I'm redoing it, but indoors. So I hope you've been running as much as I have. And let's do a recap, shall we? In the first episode in the running playlist, we talked about the principles of goal setting and the principles of progression. Very, very important. The principle of goal setting tells us we should set a goal somewhere in the future, not something we can achieve today. Because if it was something we could achieve today, then there's nothing really to aim for in terms of improvement. So we set a goal that is quite a distance into the future, and the principle of progression will guide us there, which means we start working from our current level of fitness, and then we add more and more intensity and volume to our running program until we arrive at the goal we want to arrive at somewhere in the future. Of course, we can have a long-term goal, and we can have shorter-term goals such as quarterly goals, what you want to achieve in 3 months, and then what you want to achieve in 1 month. But make sure that the progression is gradual so that your experience is one of enjoyment and your memory of running is one of enjoyment rather than suffering and pain. Because if what you remember is suffering and pain, then it's not something you want to reproduce 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Whether you're competitive or not, you won't want to produce that feeling, so you keep avoiding it unconsciously. Today we want to talk about simple beginning program and a simple intermediate program. This is very important because how do we get started? So for the beginner, really, you have a program that is so simple that I came up with like years ago, decades ago. And anyone can benefit from such a program as long as you are able to walk, and even if you can't run for any amount of distance without huffing and puffing, but as long as you can put one foot in front of the other, you can do the program that I'm about to show you. Then you have the intermediate program. And in the intermediate program, let's start with the intermediate program, shall we? In the intermediate program, if you're not a competitive runner, what we can do is run 3 days a week, and on the other 3 days, we do cross training. So on the 3 days that we're running, we can have the first day, we can have a shorter workout, a shorter run. The second running day, which is 2 days later, we can have a medium distance run. And the third day, we can have a longer run. And how do we say what's short and what's medium and what's long? That will depend on your current level of fitness and what your goals are. I mean, if you're aiming to run in a local 5K, it's quite different from running in a marathon. Or if you are eventually trying to race on the track, then you have to include track work in your program. But this is a good non-competitive running program where you run 3 days a week, and on the other 3 days, you're doing some form of cross-training. And cross-training that is adequate is best fulfilled when you have 2 or 3 different activities and you're doing 15 to 20 minutes of each. So for example, you do 20 minutes on an elliptical cross trainer, and then 20 minutes, say, on the stepper, on a step up, okay? So you can find any number of videos on stepping programs, stepping cardio programs on YouTube even. So just turn on that video and follow that and dance along, stepping up and down. And then the third one is you spend another 15-20 minutes doing some form of freehand aerobic exercise that you can also get from YouTube, or do some calisthenics. And then the next day again, you go out for your run. So it's alternate days where you run, and on the other day, you perform some form of cross training. Why did I break it down to 3 different activities? Because that's how you hit your muscles sufficiently to produce a cardio effect while not having the risk of overuse of those muscles, because you're recovering from the 3 days of running, remember? So on your cross-training days, you want to do something different. And it's best not to, for example, you could spend an hour or so on just the elliptical, or an hour or so just stepping up. But then that's repetitive motion again. So it doesn't offer much respite to repetitive motion, even though it might be a respite to running itself. Of course, eventually if you want to get competitive, you'll need to do more running rather than cross-training. But if you're planning just to keep general fitness, you just want to gain some general fitness instead of a competitive running training program, then this would be a good one. 3 days out running and 3 days on this program where you move from one activity to another, spending 15 to 20 minutes on each activity. So that's a good intermediate program. Now let's talk about beginners, okay? So for beginners, you're going to spend most of your time walking. And this program I'm about to show you, virtually anyone can do at any age, even if you're starting at 70 or 80. And here's how it works. So let's say you normally go out for a walk and you walk, let's say today you're walking for 5 kilometers. So your plan is this: for every 2 kilometers that you walk, you're going to shuffle your feet. Bear in mind, not run all out, yeah? Shuffle your feet. Shuffle your feet meaning jog slowly for only how long? 10 meters, okay? There's no excuse that you can't do this, my friends. 10 meters, virtually anyone can do if you have no ambulatory problems, if you have no leg problems. 10 meters, anyone can do. Okay, what you're going to do is 2 kilometers of walking, and then you're going to shuffle your feet for 10 meters. Then walk again for another couple of kilometers, then shuffle your feet for another 10 meters. Now, if you're planning on a 5 km walk shuffle, that's going to be it. Because at the end of the last kilometer, you don't shuffle your feet anymore. So you've only shuffled your feet twice, which is just 20 meters in the entire workout. And that's very little. So by no means is it going to stress you out so much that you're going to get injured. Now, eventually, let's say you have 7 kilometers, okay? You're walking 7 kilometers. So you're going to walk 2 kilometers. You're going to shuffle your feet for 10 meters. Walk another 2 kilometers. Shuffle your feet for another 10 meters. Walk another 2 kilometers. Shuffle your feet for 10 meters for the third shuffle. And then you're going to walk and finish your walk for another 1 kilometer. Now, if you say that this is actually more than 7 kilometers and the other one is more than 5 kilometers, you're right, but it's only 10 meters multiplied by the number of shuffles that you do. It's not a lot. It only becomes more of a concern if eventually you're going to increase your shuffle time and it starts becoming a big bulk of the entire distance. So for example, you're going to do this program that we just mentioned, 5 or 7 or 10 kilometers of walk shuffling. Every 2 kilometers, you're going to shuffle your feet for 10 meters and only 10 meters. This is a beginner's program, okay? Or for those of you coming back after a very long layoff. What you're going to do is do this for 3 weeks. Allow your body to adapt and grow into it. And then after 3 weeks, for the shuffle sections, you're going to increase the shuffling for another 10 meters. So this time you're going to do 20 meters every 2 kilometers of walking. So for example, in a 7 kilometer walk shuffle, it's more than 7 kilometers eventually, because if you add in the shuffles, it's more than that. But I'm giving you an estimate, yeah, based on what you plan to do. Of course, you can subtract from the total distance what you need to actually accomplish for the day. In other words, you can add the 10 meters of shuffling into the 7 kilometers, in this case 20 meters, yeah? So you're going to walk for 2 kilometers, you're going to shuffle your feet for 20 meters this time, walk for another 2 kilometers, shuffle your feet for 20 meters, walk for another 2 kilometers, shuffle your feet for 20 meters. That's already 3 times 20 meters there, right? And then you're going to walk for the final 1 kilometer. This is for a 7 kilometer distance walk shuffle. If it's 10 kilometers, you have 5 shuffles in there. But whatever it is, when you start off, you're going to start off with 10 meters, do it for 3 weeks, increase it to 20 meters for the shuffling portions, do that for another 3 weeks, and then for the 7th week onwards, you're going to increase it to 30 meters for the shuffling portion. So you add 10 meters each time. Okay, so for the 7th week, because it's 3 weeks on 10 meters per shuffle, 3 weeks of 20 meters per shuffle, and then on the 7th week onwards, this third block of increase, what you're going to do is you're going to do instead of 30 meters, you're going to do 40 meters, right? So it's 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters now. So what you're going to do is you're going to walk for 2 kilometers, and then you're going to shuffle your feet for 30 meters, walk for 2 kilometers, shuffle your feet for 30 meters, and so on, right? Until you finish the distance that you've planned to do. Now, if you do this, you'll be surprised within a few months how much fitness you would have gained. Okay, it's almost guaranteed, my friends. If you're starting out, that's all you need to do. You see, if you've been inculcated with the idea that you've got to push yourself every single time you run, and you've got to push yourself to the point of pain, you're doing nothing but creating memories of pain. And that's not very encouraging, especially, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. It's not very encouraging. So what you need to do is remember to do it in such a way that's enjoyable. You start off with just 10 meters of shuffling and plenty of walking in between. Then another 10 meters of shuffling and then plenty of walking in between. That's all you need to do, my friends. And eventually you're going to be so fit that the shuffling portions are going to be more than the walking portions. And that's how it should be. But for those of you who are in the intermediate program, you can start off running as far as you want to, but whenever you need to, especially during the warm-up, you need to walk. Okay, slow down and walk, and then start running again. Now, during the warm-up, I recommend that you stop to walk at least 3 to 5 times, which means, let's say, the first 10 minutes of warm-up that you're going to do, what you're going to do is you're going to do a head-to-toe warm-up, okay, which is limbering, which we will discuss in a further episode. And then, after your head-to-toe warm-up, you're going to go on a slow jog, and then you're going to walk. Do all this before your muscles fatigue, because you want the warm-up, you want your body to adapt to the stimulus of the warm-up instead of getting fatigued because it is not warmed up yet. Because once you do that, if it gets fatigued before you even get warmed up, then the warm-up serves no purpose. You're just pushing yourself to fatigue, and you're not going to benefit from the actual main body of the workout. So remember to do all these things, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.